Hey guys, Buster Photo here with another camera review and how-to. Today we have the beautiful, legendary Nikon F100. One of my favorite cameras. I bought this camera. I paid $140. I found it on Craigslist from the original owner, who still had this receipt, and he even had the box. And I mean, the camera is in mint condition. I mean, look at the box. The box is beautiful. It's not in here. It's right there to the left. But I just wanted to show you guys. It had the manual, warranty, and most importantly, the custom setting guide, which we need. And I'll show you that in a second, or why we need that in a second. Let's put that to the side. Save that. And here she is, the Nikon F100. Let me reset that focus. There we go. Beautiful camera. I have a couple today with a 50mm 1.8. This thing is in absolute mint condition. Two things to look out for when buying an F100 if you don't own one already. The battery compartment door tends to get really corroded over the years. So you want to look out for that. Make sure if you're buying one, you bring batteries and test it. And also, for some reason, this film back on these cameras gets really sticky. And I mean like sticky to like you could feel it go like it's really sticky. This one, that was the only issue it had when I bought it. For like moisture, I think it's a moisture thing, and the little leatherette on this film door, just like, I don't know if the adhesive seeps through, but it is possible to remove it, which I did. I mean, it's no longer sticky. You just need some cotton balls and some rubbing alcohol, and it's gonna take a while, but eventually you have to like move it and slide it all the way to the edge, and then you can start taking out the stickiness. But anyway, just two things to watch out for really quickly if you're thinking of getting this one. So let's go over all the features. So starting from the right here, you have your autofocus selection dial. You have M for manual, single focus, continuous focus. Of course, you have your lens release button right here. Right here we have looks like two sync ports. Your depth of field preview, which is an electronic depth of field preview. Right here you have your aperture selection ring, which is pretty cool. In order for the aperture selection ring to work, you have to set your lens at the biggest aperture. If you don't, you'll get that like error, the error message. So just set it to your biggest aperture, and then you can freely change the aperture with this dial. Classic red stripe for Nikons. Let's move to the top here. So you have your off on switch, and then if you click it over right once more, you have your LCD illumination. Traditionally, there would be a dial, or not traditionally, but most cameras have a dial. Even older cameras like the Nikon F4 have a dial to select the modes. This one has a button. So you press that, and then you turn this. So we have manual, program, shutter priority, aperture priority, and then back to manual. So pretty cool. Right here you have your exposure compensation button. You simply hold it down and you turn this command dial back here, which also serves as your shutter speed selector. This one goes all the way to 8,000. Blistering fast. While we're still here, this is your light meter, your metering selection dial. The little button right here, you press down and then you can move it around. So you have spot metering, looks like matrix metering, and then center weighted metering. But I like to leave it on spot metering. Moving, well, let's stay up here while we're up here. You have your hot shoe for your flash right here. Your bracketing option control if you want to turn it on or off, and then select the different stops that your frames, 3 frames, 2 frames, and so on. Different options for your bracketing. Right here you have your ISO selection. Now this camera tends to just automatically read what your film roll has. So, but you do have the option to set it manually. Right here you have your flash selection: slow, rear, red eye, slow red eye, and then just regular automatic flash. Right here you have, actually let me get a little closer on that and refocus. Right here you have your different kinds of shooting. You have looks like timer, continuous slow, continuous, and then single, and then you have double exposure, which will, I mean, you can keep doing it over and over on the same frame until you switch back to single or any other option. Now, for some reason, continuous and continuous slow, sorry, that's a little bright. Let me see if I can, oh, we'll get to that in a second. For some reason, continuous slow and continuous on mine sounds exactly the same. So I don't know. So that's continuous. Actually, let's put on manual so we can really get the proper speeds. That's continuous, and then continuous slow. I mean, they sound almost the same, so I don't know if I'm doing something wrong, but regardless, I never use those modes because I'm shooting it with film, and I will run out of film very quickly if I shoot in continuous mode. But going back to here, this L button is, you can lock your aperture selection and your shutter speed selection. I'm not sure why you would need that. I've never really had a problem bumping my selector, like select little dials for selecting, but you do have the option. You just simply hold down the L, turn, so now your shutter is locked in, so it won't turn. And then you can do the same thing with your aperture. Hold down the L button, turn the aperture ring, and now you see a little L there and a little L there. And now you can no longer move the shutter or aperture rings. I'm sorry, shutter aperture dials. And to reverse that, you just simply click over once more in any direction, and your aperture and shutter speed will free up. Yeah, not sure what that's for, but you know. So this camera does have an autofocus on button. So let's turn autofocus. Let's go to single. Oof. This 1.8D it's got some good volume to it. I mean, you know something's working with this thing. It's pretty loud. Then you have your auto exposure lock, your autofocus lock button, of course. Right here you have your diopter. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly, diopter. Which, if you need glasses or nearsighted or farsighted, you can adjust this so that the viewfinder looks focused depending on the level of correction your eye needs. But I don't need that, so I just leave it flat. Right here you have this camera does have autofocus points, and you see it moving right there, and this is how you select those autofocus points. And it has a whopping 5. Watch out. So I just normally leave it in the center and then recompose, because I mean, those 5 selection points, I mean, not really useful for me. I've always been a center focus, recomposing kind of guy. And especially for those people that are like me, you can lock this. You click it over to L, and then this will no longer move the autofocus points, which is cool for me. And right here, I think we have spot focus and I think autofocus, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure that's right. I think this is spot and this is autofocus. Yeah, that should be right. If not, let me know in the comments. So another way I knew this guy really took care of his camera, he still has the little Nikon DK8 little cover right here, which, I mean, that's pretty cool. So for those super long exposures and you don't want any light to leak through the viewfinder. They have this little cover here. The Nikon F4 just has a little button that'll put a little shutter, a little metal curtain in the inside, which I think is a lot better than this thing. The viewfinder is not removable, but yeah. So I think this camera was like one step down from like the pro cameras. Like this is like an F6 Junior, or I'm sorry, like an F5 Junior. The F5 you can remove the viewfinder. You cannot on this one. So moving towards the bottom, not much to see here. You have your tripod mount right here. This is removable. There is a battery grip. Not a battery grip, sorry. A motor drive that does connect here. So you would remove this little rubber piece to open up connections. And batteries, this will accept 4 AA batteries. Pretty simple. Like I mentioned earlier, you need to watch out for corrosion on these. These little battery holders are usually the first ones to go bad from like really bad corrosion. But this one, I mean, it's like this camera looks brand new because the previous owner took so good care of it. Again, let's open up the film door and show you how to load film in this thing. It's pretty easy. So to do that, you just press that button down and then slide. That opens up the film door. And I just realized I forgot my film. Give me 1 second. And we're back. The return of the extremely sought after Walgreens Studio 35. It's made its triumphant return. That's a joke if you haven't seen my previous videos. This was free film that I got with the camera, so it is now my test film. So really easy to load your film. I'll show you that again. You just, that little tip down, slide that in there, and then all you do is bring the film over to that red dot, which that looks pretty good right there. And then you just simply close the camera and oh no, error. I don't think it grabbed correctly. Let's check it again. Now it looks like it missed it. So let's flatten that out as best we can. Let's try again. There we go. It does it automatically. And now you're ready to shoot. There's your one right there. Why isn't that? Oh, because it's not in focus. So, okay. So I'm glad that happened because that just reminded me of what this does. So this is to access the menu inside the camera to change different settings. So the number, this number and this number corresponds to, I'm sorry, I should say this first number corresponds to a different option. And then this second number corresponds to whether that option is on, off, or etc. And there's this handy, sorry, let me refocus that. There's this handy little guide that tells you, I'm pretty sure every single one of these options, like for example, film advance with closing the camera back, 0 disabled, 1 enabled. So I won't bore you with going through every one, but I have it with my camera, but it's really easy to find it online, which I did. And so this is just my test film, so I don't really care about going through it or ruining it, because oh yeah, it needs to be in focus, so let's just switch to, yeah, I think that's one of the options also, that the camera will not fire unless the camera has focused on something. So let's do continuous, and right there we're almost out of film right there. So in order to rewind it, this does not have a manual backup, so you do have to depend on the camera rewinding it automatically. So you see this little red symbol here, there's one, and there's the other right above the bracket. You simply press those two at the same time, and the camera will automatically rewind the film. Now I kind of regret taking so many pictures because this is my test film, so I need it back. So I'm gonna have to make a mess of this. Never do that if you have real film. But if you have good Walgreens Studio 35 film, then by all means. And that's pretty much every one of the features on this camera. It is a beautiful, beautiful camera. It really feels like a modern DSLR. It's pretty similar in sizing. I have a D610 right here just to compare, and yeah, I mean it reminds me so much like of modern cameras, and it's about the same size. Looks very similar, feels very similar in the hand. Yeah, it's a beautiful camera. I did a review of the Nikon N80, which I titled "The Poor Man's Nikon F100." That camera is so capable, almost just as capable as this one, without just missing a couple of features. But I mean, if it's a money issue, I'd say go for the Nikon N80. If you have the money and you want a better camera, go for the F100. And the cool thing about this, if you're coming from digital, if you already have, like I do, a Nikon D610, and if you're coming from digital, you can use all of your G lenses, modern G lenses, and the newer modern E lenses on these bodies. This is a Nikon 50mm 1.8G, and as you can see, totally works. Like, works 100%. There it is, yeah. See, shutter speed. I actually shot a lot of film on this camera with this lens. So that's another great thing about these cameras. You can slap on your G lenses and start firing right away. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you found this review and how-to useful. Please like and subscribe. I got lots of more videos coming out. And yeah, thanks so much, guys. Have a nice day.